Okay, here's your new seal. See, it's two halves. This is the bottom half right here, and here's your top half that we just removed the old one. Now, a lot of people, I don't know why, but they seem to get confused about which direction it needs to go to face forward. And see, it's got this lip right here, and it says so on the package, but it's got this lip. You got this groove right here. The groove side goes forward towards the engine, and see this side back here, there's no groove on it, so that goes towards the transmission. So put that groove towards the engine. Now, I didn't have a whole lot of tips for getting the old one out, but I do have a tip for getting the new one in, which I noticed when I bought this seal. It came with this little dealie here that is supposed to be like a shoehorn to help get the new one in, and that may work, I don't know, but this one it's not very big. It doesn't really cover the seal very well. So what I suggest, this is something I learned last time, is you're gonna go to that cup that you've been drinking out of, and you're gonna cut your straw off. Just take just 1.5 inches or so. So just cut your straw off your drink. Take that straw and then just cut it in half. So you've opened it up, and then cut the other end, cut one end at kind of an angle. So so basically you made a shoehorn right there, and you'll just put that into the into the channel where that seal goes. If I can open it up, put that in that channel where the seal goes, and then that thing will just kind of guide the seal right in, help you from scarring up the edges and messing your seal up. Also, they tell you that you want to soak these things or get them kind of greased up with dish soap rather than oil. The packaging on the seal says oil or grease, but I keep reading about how you don't want to use oil, you want to use dish soap. And so the only guess I have about that is that maybe the soap will burn up, and then it'll be gone, whereas the oil may cause it to leak. And so you'll want to grease that thing up. It's solid. It's kind of solid. It's a stiff, rigid rubber piece. So you're not soaking this thing to try to soften it up, because that's not going to happen. But you're just going to grease it up with the soap. But the other tip that I have that I did last time is I got one of these medicine syringes that we use for the kids, and so no needle on that or anything. It's not that type of syringe, but you can get this from your pharmacy, and just pull some soap into that thing. And I shot it up through that channel over and around the crank, so that it greased it up real nice for me before I even tried to get the seal in. And so between greasing that up with the soap and then using your little shoehorn deal right here out of your straw, I don't have any trouble getting these things in. They go in just real easy. So give that a shot and see if that helps you out. I'll see if I can get the camera angled up so where you can watch it. It's kind of hanging loose right there. Now I'm gonna grab my syringe with soap in it. Make sure you get your safety goggles on so you don't get soap in your eye. We'll put it over there and just fire away. There it goes. I'll pull my little shoehorn out. There you go. Make sure that's intact. Make sure I didn't get anything broken up in there. Alright. I'm just going to kind of keep my fingernail pressed against the back side of that so that it doesn't tear. Just pushing it on around. go. Well, got my new oil pump bolted in there. It's ready to go. There's the pickup. So now I'm just going around and just scraping clean on the gasket surface there on the bottom of the block, where it's going to meet up with the oil pan. And so you want to get a good clean surface to mount that to. One thing I didn't mention earlier that would probably be helpful is if before you ever get started on this whole deal, if the bottom of your engine is just really nasty, I would take it to one of those car washes with the pressure washing hose and just spray the stink out of the underside. You know, take some degreaser and you know, spray it down with degreaser underneath there, and then just blast all that mess off of there. It's really going to make your job a whole lot easier when you're taking down the oil pan. You know, so just keep that in mind before you ever get started. All right, I've got my pan cleaned up, got all that junk out of there, and ready to put my gasket on and go ahead and put this thing up in there. One thing that I do is when I lay it on there, I put just one or two of the bolts down through the top side, and that'll hold it in place as you're trying to work it up over your axle. And you know, you just have to make sure that you don't drop a nut down in there, or drop a bolt down in the pan. You just have to fish it out. Anyway, people are always wondering where in the world you're supposed to put the RTV at, the silicone at. You don't want to do the whole entire thing like you would with many other gaskets. Instead, the instructions are just put a little bit right here where the block meets the timing cover. So it's right in between these two bolts on the front side, and then at the back where the bearing cap meets the block. And so you're just going right here as well. And let me show you underneath so you see what we're talking about. You see right here, here's your block, here's your timing cover. You got the gap in between there. So just in between those two screw bolt holes, that's where you're going. So on your gasket, you just put a little bit on the top, just a little bit, and then back here at the back, same thing, where the bearing cap, which is this, where that meets up with the block. So bearing cap, block, boom, right there in between that bolt hole and the bearing cap. So right on the corner of your gasket up there, that's where you want your silicone to go, just a little bit. All right, that's it. She's back down on the ground. Everything's buttoned up, ready to go. I didn't show you the last parts where I was just bolting up the oil pan because there's nothing exciting about that. I'm going to pull my fuse for my fuel pump, and once I get it full of oil, then I'm going to crank it over for a while just to let that pump prime up and you know, make sure that my oil filter is full. Even though I fill it up before I spin it on, it's just a good idea to do that. But anyway, so that's all there is to it. Hope you learned something. Hope something was useful for you. Take care.